Thank you for tuning in. 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for listening this nice Friday morning. I've done this many times, reveal that I'm a nerd. I got another illustration of how nerdy I am. And Richard Harris his family is out there. I think he passed away. I apologize. Richard Harris, the actor, had an album that he came out with. And of course, I was the kid always in the record stores looking at different albums. And there was an album called Slideshow. And it was by the actor Richard Harris. Mm-hmm. And one of the songs on Slideshow was called Slideshow. And basically, he's narrating / singing. What in your mind's eye, you're picturing this slideshow of different scenes. And one of the things he says in the song / narration, it's hard to exactly define it as a song, but one of the things he said stuck with me. And the line is, "Living well is my best revenge, you can be sure." And I must have been 15 or 16 when I heard that, and I have used that so often. When people feel like they're kind of against you, or when people feel like, they're not for you, or, or they make you feel bad or whatever, you instead of yelling, screaming, of course I've had my share of that too, but I basically will walk away, and then if I have the composure to do so, I'll just say, you know what, I'm just going to live well. I don't care what you're going to do with your life, but I'm going to live well. That's the best thing I can do. And then you ask yourself, well, how do you do that? How do you live well? John M. Baumann has been with us before. He's on the phone again. He's going to tell you. He's written a book called The Art of Living Well. So I'm looking forward to this interview and to reading the book. John has a list of credentials. He's an inspirational speaker, a success speaker, presenting at the World Parkinson Congress this fall. He's a professor at the University of Louisville, Kentucky College of Business. He was diagnosed himself with Parkinson's disease, so he's probably living well in spite of that, just as I have often lived well in spite of maybe nasty things people have said. He's a caregiver with his wife to his daughter who has cerebral palsy, and I always am unclear if I'm saying that right. And he chairs the Make-A-Wish Foundation. His plate is full. His book, again, The Art of Living Well. And John Baumann, good morning. Thank you for being on with us again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm really pleased to be here.
And where are you right now?
I'm actually in Louisville, Kentucky, but I'm going to be in Florida tonight. I'm flying to Fort Lauderdale, and we're going on to Key Largo for a couple of days.
Oh, really? Vacation? Are you on vacation?
Semi-vacation. I have to. My wife has a rented property there. We just got to go check it out. But I'll make sure we have fun, because we always do have fun.
See, that's what living well is. I need a piece of property I need to go check out. That is living well, right?
It is, but living well is so much more than personal possessions or things. Living well is absolutely, as you described, a state of mind. It's a perspective. It's a way to live. And the chapter, this book, Art of Living Well, is actually a conglomeration of 14 different authors who write about living well. And my chapter is the first one, which I'm honored to be included as the first chapter that I was chosen. And it's John Baumann's no-nonsense, in-your-face, extremely effective self-improvement edicts for those who are absolutely, positively committed to transform themselves, moving forward.
That's the whole title of the chapter?
That's the title of the chapter. I wrote this chapter in one day, Larry.
Okay, and what do you say? And what do you tell us? What do you tell us as readers?
Well, I take the old adage, out with the old, in with the new, and I change it to out with the bad, in with the good. And the first thing I talk about is burn the ticks off. And what I mean by that is, as you just described, there are negative people in your life. There are people that are sucking you dry. Burn them off like a tick. Get rid of them. Don't let them do it. Don't succumb to the manipulation. Move on. Then I say, stop telling your sob story. If you keep telling your sob story over and over again, everyone's got a cross to bear. I've got Parkinson's, and my daughter has cerebral palsy. She never mentions her cerebral palsy. I never mention my Parkinson's. Just don't mention it. And stop telling your sob story, because you're reinforcing it over and over and over again. You're looking for a pity party.
I love that part. Robin's husband went through cancer, has lost a lung. You would never know it if you didn't know it. It never comes up, and I'm always amazed by that. Do you know the part of it? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, the only reason I ever talk about Parkinson's is to help people. It's not something that I'm languishing over.
Right, exactly. Is it just curious, is it holding steady? Does it get worse as you get older, or how are you doing?
It's a progressive, degenerative, not incurable disease. That said, over the past year, I have reversed my Parkinson's by 7 years. It's my estimation. And I've done it 3 ways. One is research, awareness, finding out things before my doctor finds out about it. Finding it, like there was back when I first was diagnosed, there was a medicine in Europe called Asvac, and it wasn't FDA approved here yet. I was able to get a hold of some, and I've been taking it since then. So, and it was finally FDA approved, and I've continued to take it.
Wow.
That is my own. That's taking control. That's exercising my power.
Right.
And then secondly, 80% of how you feel is what you put in your body. My wife she calls herself a nutrition enthusiast, not a certified anything, but a nutrition enthusiast. She has turned me onto a diet that has just been remarkable.
And it makes a big difference.
Finally, exercise. That's the third component of it, and so I do Bikram hot yoga 3 days a week, and I do kettlebell strength training 3 days a week. And I lost 35 pounds unintentionally. I'm down to the weight that I should be for my height. I am, in fact, and I say this in my speeches when I go and do inspirational speeches, I am healthier now, Larry, than I've ever been in my entire life. And I was an athlete. I was a shortstop for the Texas State Championship softball team. I was a tennis player. I was a golf player. I was a soccer player. I'm healthier now, fitter now with Parkinson's than I ever was.
Wow. Well, good for you. The hardest thing of the things you said to do is to burn the tics off. And let me go back to that just for a second. And I'm going to use a movie. I don't watch very many movies, that kind of reputation, but I got a movie reference here. And I don't remember the title. But Jackie Gleason was in the movie, and he was an older man. And Tom Hanks played his son. And Jackie Gleason is toward the end of his life, and he's in a wheelchair.
I remember that movie.
Okay. And there's a scene where Jackie Gleason is being pushed by Tom Hanks' character. And he says to Tom Hanks, he says, I never would have bet that you'd be the one taking care of me at the end. In other words, earlier...
You'd be there for me.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, earlier in their relationship, Tom Hanks' character was the tic. And I've often thought about that whole idea of dismissing people who are weighing you down. And not to disagree with you, but maybe to just kind of modify it, for me anyway, the way I handle people who weigh me down.
Yeah.
But put a little barrier there, keep looking over the fence every now and then. Maybe they've changed. Maybe your relationship has changed. I don't know.
Put a little distance.
Yeah.
A little healthy distance. There's always variations on these sort of things, but I just when I met my wife last January, and we got married in February.
Wow!
We moved here from St. John of the Virgin Islands to Louisville, Kentucky, which is quite a culture shock. And I had been single for 4 years, and we looked at the people that I've been hanging out with, and she said, "John, step back. Don't you realize that this person is just sucking you dry? They're like a tick. You've got to burn them off." And there was some that, so to speak, made the cut. But when it comes to family members, it's a little bit different. I totally agree with you. You've got to hang in there with them. Put a little healthy distance. Put a nice boundary between you. Don't let them take advantage of you. But there's definitely a difference with family.
Since you have this, we are really impressed with your no-nonsense attitude, because with your history as an attorney, you have to learn how to be objective to everything. So it seems like you're able to do that, yet find the time to have your emotions as well.
What's tough about Parkinson's, and I don't talk about this very often, is it's a emotionless disease. In other words, when I walked into the doctor's office the first time that I was diagnosed, the doctor looked at me, shook my hand, and said, "You have Parkinson's." And I said, "You haven't hit my knee with a hammer, you haven't taken blood, I haven't given you a urine sample. How can you say that?" And the doctor said, "Your expressionless face, you're not blinking, your arm doesn't swing when you move, your hand is trembling, and your handwriting is illegible. That's all Parkinson's right there." And I said, there's got to be a confirmatory test. There's a confirmatory test for everything. And she said, yeah, an autopsy. I said, well, I'm not going to get an autopsy.
Really? Wow.
Gee.
Not right now.
So
And then you take the medicine, and if it works, like you take the Azelaic and you take the levodopa carbidopa, and if it works, you've got it.
Okay, and what's the better thing you do, the medicine or the lifestyle? I'm a little bit confused here. It sounds like the lifestyle is what really improved you by 7 years.
I think that the medicine just keeps you, like you had mentioned before, very very insightfully, that it's progressive. You will always be progressing. The difference is with exercise and nutrition is you can actually. I see myself reversing the symptoms, getting better and better. Now, will I be able to do less and less exercise? Yes, over the time. Will my medicine be less and less effective, or be as effective but not be able to mask the symptoms as well?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Will I always be able to eat well? Yeah.
and combine that with your the statement earlier about not crying about it all the time and loading other people with your problems. That probably releases you, while you're also releasing your friends and relatives from it, and probably contributes to a good attitude, which probably ultimately is also helping.
Well, I call it the emotional roller coaster. You go through an emotional roller coaster. You go through denial. You go through disbelief. You go through shock. You go through anger. All the grief cycle, and then you've got to do everything you can do to get over it. Take as much time as you need. But at one point, and I said this in when I was in South Dakota at a symposium doing an inspirational talk, get over it. You've got to at some point get over it.
Right.
Get over each of these things. It's easier said than done. I know it's the hardest thing you've ever done, but get over it and move on, move forward. And one of the guys who paints barns in South Dakota said he was going to, his next barn he's going to paint, he said just put the word "get over it."
So what's your response to people like Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali who have Parkinson's, but it's come to shape them as who they are? I mean, we know Michael J. Fox is a great actor, but now we know him as an actor with Parkinson's.
Let me tell you about Michael J. Fox. I read inspirational messages all the time, and I'm not impressed. I think that they're just cliches, and they're nice to read, but they don't make my day. Michael J. Fox said something the other day, and it's in his book on optimism. He said, "Sure, I know that Parkinson's, I'm always going to be taking one step forward and two steps back. It's the direction that I take with that one step that makes the difference in them." And that's impressive to me. The man is so much more than just an actor with Parkinson's. He's an inspiration because he's really got it. I went to St. John of the Virgin Islands with my wife to visit her friends, and one of the hotel and restaurant managers at Kinneil Bay went out on a boat ride with us, and he said, Michael J. Fox comes in every year with his whole family, and he knows him real well. And my wife said to him, "What's he like?" And this hotel manager said, "He's just like your husband. Nothing stops him. He's optimistic. He's upbeat. He's the life of the party." And that's the way you got to be. When you come to in with the good, and that's the part of my article that I like best, because all the other stuff about it is kind of getting rid of the bad, getting rid of the bones, getting rid of the bad stuff.
Right.
First one is pick a concrete day. Pick a day to make a change. Doesn't matter when it is, but
Tomorrow.
Pick a day and just stick with it.
It's always tomorrow for me. John M. Baumann is our guest, and the book is The Art of Living Well. And I wanted to ask you about the World Parkinson Congress. So just kind of put that question on hold just for a second. So the book is a collection of writings from. You're one of them. You're the first. You have the first chapter, and who are the other authors? I'm not asking.
God.
No, I don't mean for you to name them all, but I mean, are they doctors and everyday? Like, where do they come from?
They're from all shapes of life. Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy,
Okay.
Don Boyer, Robert Graham, Dr. Marie Diamond. They have all different topics. And guess what? The best part about it is It's free.
It's a free book?
No, that's
You
not the
send me an
best
email.
part.
If your listener sends me an email at johndecidesuccess@gmail.com. It's John Decide Success. My first book was called Decide Success. JohnDecideSuccess@gmail.com. I will send you the book. And I will not only send you the book, but I'll send you a 40-minute video of me in Baton Rouge doing a 40-minute inspirational talk that applies not just to Parkinson's, but anybody with any sort of life-changing event. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to get my name out there and get more speaking engagements. They're more important to me than selling books.
So let me
and I want to get this message
Let
out.
me disagree with you, and then I'll ask about the Parkinson Congress. You said the best thing is that it's free. Free is what you don't pay to get it. So it's what the best thing is about what you get from it, not the fact that you don't have to pay to get it. Just want to disagree.
Right.
So tell me about you. Wow.
I agree with you now.
See there? A debate
my
point.
mind.
I finally won in a debate, and it was nothing. It was like blown over a
And with a lawyer yet.
with an attorney. That's right.
With an
That's right.
attorneys.
I concede the point.
just to show you that some lawyers actually keep an open mind, because I agree with you, Larry.
There you go.
Well, I don't.
You've changed my mind.
That's funny.
You know what? Just a side note: changing someone's mind is not really changing your mind. It's adding more information on one side of the
Hey, I've been saying this forever. That's the whole idea of debate. No matter what you're debating, and if you're
Right.
the point you made in the opening of this conversation, if you can actually change somebody's mind, this is the hardest debate actually. To change somebody's mind to believe that they're not, I don't know, cursed or they're not destined for bad things. That's a hard thing to convince a pessimist.
You're not helpless. You're not helpless.
Yeah, but it's hard to convince a pessimist of any of that. So, all right.
Well, it's not a changed mind. It's an improved opinion, not a changed opinion. Improved.
There you go. The World Parkinson Congress. What is that?
All right. Every 3 or 4 years, they bring together 6,000 delegates. This will be the biggest one, of the most brilliant minds, most brilliant scientists. I was in Italy last month, and someone met a doctor from Milan who's going to be there, who's heading up the Italy contingent. They've got people from all over the world, and they come in and they do. They have abstracts and posters and renewal rooms and speeches and lectures, and it goes over 4 days. I actually went to the first one in Washington, D.C. when I first was diagnosed, and I walked into these lectures. I walked out and I said, I don't understand a word that these people said, but I know there's some brilliant people working on this cure for Parkinson's. That makes me happy. And I've been chosen to be the only inspirational speakers to be able to speak. And I'm doing a renewal room on Wednesday, 45-minute talk on basically just what I'm talking about here.
Do you know
getting the right mindset.
Robin carries with her a copy of the People magazine on which the cover is 3 of the women who had limbs blown off in the Boston bombing.
Yeah.
That cover photograph was taken probably, a month or maybe?
Yeah.
It wasn't that long after the bombing.
Yeah.
They're standing there with their prosthetics. They're standing there smiling. And when you read their story, you go, wow, the worst imaginable thing for a runner has happened to these 3 beautiful women. Mm-hmm. And yet they have the attitude, the very thing you're talking about. The very thing you're talking about. They are not letting it weigh them down in those 3 women's cases.
Let me tell you something. I fought and scraped my way from middle-class New York to Cornell Law School, where every day I was in awe of just being there and the ivy-covered buildings and everything else, and the debate with the professors and the brilliance. I was the last one admitted to my class. I loved the law. I loved being a lawyer, and I also loved sports. I loved being a softball player. My legs were cut out from under me. I couldn't do either anymore. Couldn't do either. And you know what? I am so much more purposeful and so much more fulfilled and so much more, I feel so much more present and so much more needed now as an inspirational speaker than I was as a lawyer and as a...
Wow, that's saying a lot, yeah.
So it's my mother, I just have to tell you a quick story. My mother who's a brilliant person and a wonderful person, said to me the other day, well, you know, John, everything happens for a reason. And I said, whoa, slow down for a second. I'm a lawyer. I listen to words. You've always said, growing up, hundreds of times, everything happens for the best. What happened to the best? He said, because you got Parkinson's, and that can't be for the best.
Oh, wow.
My. That's
I'm
inspirational.
improving every day.
So he had a debate with himself.
Some way, improve her for the best.
Yeah. By the way, we're not trying to talk over you. I think there's a delay, and I apologize for that. The book is called The Art of Living Well. The credentials to John Baumann are unbelievable, and it sounds like you can get the book for free and get a video that is going to be motivational, inspirational, and just perhaps give you some of the positiveness that he's demonstrating today. Tell me again the website, or did you tell it yet? What is the website?
Sure. The website is johnbaumann, BAUMANN.com.
Okay.
But to get the book and the downloadable book and the connection of the YouTube 40-minute video, you would write to me at John Decide, DECIDE, success, SUCCESS, at gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'll send you the downloadable book, and you'll have a connection to the website.
All right. John Decide Success at gmail.com, and then the website johnbaumann.com, and Baumann is Baumann. So you go, when do you leave for Fort Lauderdale?
We're leaving on a direct flight out of Lexington. I'm going to actually be in Orlando. I've been signed to be in Orlando in April. They sign up people in advance to be the special speaker. Hopefully, I know there might be some distance between Orlando and where you are.
That's not too far. No. It's a backyard for us, yeah.
Yeah.
That's and we'll have to talk before that, because it's going to be a great symposium they're putting together right now.
So the reality of life is that no matter how positive a person is, there's down days. Who brings you up on those days? Your wife?
Well, yeah, my wife is just spectacular. She's never say no. She's a we call her the 5-foot giant, because she's a fire plug, and But my kids, I have a son that's at UK who's just a wonderful young man. He wants to be a lawyer just like me.
Uh-huh.
My daughter, who doesn't let cerebral palsy get her down. In fact, I'm taking her to a new doctor today and taking her to lunch, and she's in a cast. She's just had surgery.
Oh.
And she's just amazing to me. I'll tell you a quick story about her. In 5th grade, she wanted to be a cheerleader, and I said, "Oh, I don't know if you want to do that. You really can't do all the cheers, and kids in that age bracket are pretty cruel."
Right.
She said, "No, I want to do it." And she was kind of the mascot for the team. She did what she could. The next year, she said, "I'm not going to be a cheerleader this year." And one part of me said, "Well, I'm kind of glad that she's not going to put herself through the ridicule." And I said to her, "Did somebody get to you? Did somebody say something to you?" She said, "No, Dad, I want to go up on the basketball team. You can't be on the basketball team and be a cheerleader at the same time." Now that's attitude.
That's great.
That's a great attitude.
Yeah, that is awesome. And that is...
She made the team, and she goes to the spot for defense and puts her hands up, and then runs down as best she can and goes to the spot for offense and waits for the ball. She does everything she's supposed to do, and she just loves the 30 seconds she's in the game.
So we had a little discussion before you came on, the difference between the art of living well or the science of living well. I guess you could make it, as an attorney, you could probably make a case for either or, right?
I have no reaction to that. No reaction to that.
He pleads the fifth
well.
on what I think is the easiest question.
Yeah.
I sold books from door to door when I was in college. I went down to Houston, Texas, and walked around and was a door-to-door book salesman. And I went into the richest areas of the town, and people would come out and they'd have this fake smile on their face, and they'd immediately go to this scowl when they see me, because they think he's going to try to sell me something. He's going to try to sell me something. And they was just so unhappy. And I would go to the poorest sections, and people would greet me with open arms, and they'd pull out money and buy books for their kids because they felt like that they might make a difference. And I said to myself, John, take a lesson from this. And this is in my book, Decide Success. Take a lesson from this. No matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have, be happy all the time. There's
That's
so many
right.
people with so much
That's right.
that they have that are not happy.
Real quick, just to share notes. Robin and I right now are involved in a campaign to raise money for the local literacy council. And the way we're doing it is we're playing music on the sidewalk for tips.
We're busking.
It's called busking.
Brand new word we learned.
All right. So here's what happens. You get people who walk past who look like they could probably, buy the entire block. Nothing.
Right.
And then you see people handing you a $5 bill who look like they can't even afford it. And it was like, you sure you want to give me this? It's like,
we ask them.
This isn't for us. This is for the literacy council. But you might need it more. And it's the exact same scenario that you just described. I don't understand it. But maybe that's why they're rich. They don't give any of it away.
I'll tell you what. I was in Athens, Greece, about 3 months ago, and I went and I got a bunch of dollar or euro coins. And I said to my wife, every person I see that's begging on the street, I'm going to give a coin to. And not to get too religious, but it tells me that, what you do to the least of your brothers, that you do unto you. I said, I don't know which one of these could be the new Messiah. So I'm not going to take any chances.
That's exactly
I
right.
give every one of them a euro. But let me make an offer to you. If you send me an email, I will send you 5 Decide Success books to be given out to the Literacy Council.
Oh, awesome. Well, we will do that then. Is it the same email?
Yeah.
John,
I don't mind giving out my email.
John decidesuccess@gmail.com. And you'll get an email from us, John. Thank you for being on the air. You've inspired us with this interview. My headphones are breaking up. I'm having a hard time hearing. The Art of Living Well is the book, and johnbaumann.com is the website. John, thank you again for being on with us today.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Robin.
Great interview. We'll take a little break and be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
The Corkscrew Winery in downtown Ocala is having a grape stomp Saturday, September 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. The cost is only $25, and that includes the grape stomp experience, a glass of wine, and light finger food. Plus, you bottle and take home a finished wine. The Corkscrew Winery is located at 16 Southwest Broadway in historic downtown Ocala. Space is limited, and reservations are required, so call today, 352-402-0158. That's 352-402-0158.
Now is the time to take advantage of Florida Credit Union's CD specials. Our 36-month CD comes in